I had 3 victims that I've been working with, victims of the Carters, that were ready to come forward. This might help them feel a little more confident now. So this is great. Everything you see about him is an illusion, but what he loves the most is controlling youth.
Fact check me. And Jaguar has more information than I do. So to anybody who discredits her is really doesn't know what's going on, because she has more information than I could even dream of having, because I'm sure, without even speaking to her about this.
And that silence, it wasn't harmless. It had consequences. Jaguar claims that silence came with blood on it, because once someone tried to pull the curtain back, things started to get dangerous. But before we go there, you need to understand how Jay-Z keeps control over the people tied to him. That so-called mentorship was only the surface. Behind the scenes was a full-blown control operation.
So tell me about your audition with Jay-Z. Tell me what he said to you.
A really good audition.
Yes.
But before I met him, I was so nervous. I was shaking literally. But the moment I walked into the office, the atmosphere was so warm and welcoming.
And you had to sing a cappella for him?
Yes, I had to sing. I sang Fun to Replay. I sang another ballad from the album last time.
Yeah. So then what did he say to you? He said something to you.
Oh yes, he said, we don't sign songs here, we sign artists. And there was this little pause, and I was nervous. But then he said, and we're interested. And there was this sudden feel of relief.
But then he said something about a window and a door or something.
Oh, then he said, he did it homework.
I did a lot of homework on you, Miss Lady.
He said, there are 2 ways to leave here, either through the door with the deal signed or through this window, and we're on the 29th floor.
So you was like, where's the pen? Where's the paper? I'm signing.
Yeah.
Psychological, financial, emotional, all designed to make sure nobody ever spoke out again. Once you're inside a system, escape isn't easy. It's impossible. Jaguar breaks it down using Rihanna as the perfect example. She points to Rihanna's body language during her Super Bowl performance, how she hesitated, glanced up at Jay-Z's box before flashing the Rockefeller sign. She calls that moment proof of submission, not celebration. That wasn't an artist honoring her mentor. It was someone performing under silent pressure, the kind of pressure that says, stay in line or lose everything. But it doesn't end there. Jaguar claims Jay-Z holds financial control over both Beyonce and Rihanna, keeping them tied to his empire like assets.
Signed it at night. We didn't let her leave the office.
Really?
The 3 a.m. was when that contract got signed. So from the meeting around 3, 4 in the afternoon, we signed it by 3 a.m.
Wow.
That day, I was absolutely certain.
How often does that happen? I mean, that's
not often.
That's unheard of, right?
That's not, yeah. I mean, to get lawyers to draft up contracts and then the other side to agree to contracts in 10 hours that's retarded.
No.
Not equals. Their wealth, their image, even their freedom, all connected to contracts, partnerships, and brands he manages. They're not business partners in a shared dream. They're extensions of his corporate machine. Every move, every deal, every public appearance, carefully managed to protect him. Every move they make in public, the smiles, the handshakes, the speeches, even the way they look at each other, is part of a carefully crafted illusion. Jaguar says it's all designed to protect one thing, the system that keeps Jay-Z's alleged predatory power intact. But behind the designer clothes and million-dollar deals, the truth is darker than anyone imagined. Because according to Jaguar's sources, the control didn't stop at money.
Get discovered. This is an unusual story.
Well, first, I met a producer in Barbados who was vacationing there because his wife is from there. So he was vacationing there one time, and my friend who knows him, she wanted me to meet with him. So in a nutshell, I went to his hotel room, I sang for him, and he was impressed. So he invited me out to his studio to do some recording, and we recorded for like a year back and forth. Then we finally put a demo together. We sent it to a few labels, and Def Jam happened to be the first label to call back. They were the most enthusiastic about everything. So we set up a meeting with Jay-Z, and I met with him, and he was very impressed by the audition. And he didn't let me leave until 3 in the morning after we signed the deal.
Well, were you nervous meeting Jay?
What? I was literally shaking in the lobby.
It was the longest 12 hours of my life. Like, I was just waiting downstairs, and I was like, get the contract down here. I want to sign. I was so hyped. I didn't sleep for the next 3 days.
It turned physical. Both Beyonce and Rihanna, 2 of the most influential women in music, have allegedly endured systematic abuse, while the industry stayed quiet. The same people who cheer for them on stage have been trained to help hide their pain, and that's where Solange comes in. Jaguar says Solange wasn't just fighting for her sister in that infamous elevator moment, she was standing up against the entire system. Solange was Beyonce's emotional anchor, her lifeline to a world outside of Jay-Z's control. She saw the manipulation, the isolation, the silent suffering, and she fought back. But Jay-Z didn't just take that lightly. He allegedly flipped the narrative, turning her act of protection into public humiliation. The elevator footage became a global spectacle, but nobody realized what was really happening behind it. Think about what came next. Before that night, Solange was everywhere, always beside Beyonce, always part of her story. But after that moment, she vanished from the picture. The media labeled her unstable, emotional, angry. And just like that, Jay-Z had done it again. He didn't just survive Solange's outburst. He used it as the perfect opportunity to remove her completely from Beyonce's circle. The one person who could have pulled her out of his grip was gone. And here's where it gets even more twisted. Rihanna was right there, watching it all unfold, watching how control, isolation, and humiliation could silence even family. She was learning every move, seeing exactly how the system works, step by step. And soon, that same machine would turn on someone else. Someone who made the mistake of digging too deep into what Jay-Z was really doing behind closed doors.
He was a kid at that time, correct?
A 15-year-old girl who had been flown to the United States without parental supervision or a chaperone, brought to a grown man's office in a large corporate Manhattan building. Everybody knew when she flew in. I was there the day she got signed. Everyone was talking about it. And the 6 hours that she spent with him and the 4 hours that she spent alone with him with no parental supervision. Her father didn't show up till the next day to come and collect the check.
Well, and
this isn't her life.
The rumors were even beyond that, right? That Jay-Z was cheating on Beyonce with her when she was
Very
17
so.
Is what a lot of this came out through a publicist who later then
Have
had
you
to
spoken
apologize.
to my friend Jonathan Hay? You should talk to Jonathan.
That's where the story takes its darkest turn yet. Everything we've uncovered about Jay-Z's control system was about to reach its most dangerous level, because this time it wasn't happening behind closed doors. It was happening live on national television. Jaguar says this was the moment when manipulation turned into performance, the most perfectly executed act of victimhood the world had ever seen. Watch closely. This is Rihanna's 2009 ABC News interview with Diane Sawyer. The interview that didn't just break headlines, it broke Chris Brown's entire career while keeping Jay-Z's empire spotless. Pay attention to the delivery. Every word, every pause, every tear. It's all precision. I am strong. This happened to me. I didn't cause this. The script is flawless, too flawless. It's the exact language designed to generate maximum sympathy and complete public trust. But Jaguar says, listen beyond the surface. This wasn't just about telling her truth. It was about rewriting the narrative to protect the people, pulling the strings behind her. And look at how the message was framed. She wasn't just painting Chris Brown as her abuser. She positioned him as a danger to every woman watching that night. That's not raw emotion. That's strategy. It's the art of character destruction disguised as empowerment.
And then the next thing you know, she was removed from that first team from Pond the Replay and replaced with all new handlers and kept sheltered in Los Angeles, where she was going out to parties and partying at 15, 16, 17 years old, hanging out at the Rainbow Room, hanging out. Yeah, like it was one of my friends who found out she was 17 when everyone thought she was 21. And he was like, yo, why do y'all got me carrying this girl around? And she's, oh, it's cool, it's cool.
Well, but just to echo and support you, like they had to debunk that. Oh, we apologize. It wasn't real. We made it up in hopes of giving her single a boost.
Yeah, they
like,
promised
what?
Jonathan a deal working at Tidal and something, and then they reneged. And then the next thing you know, he was caught in a home invasion robbery while he was working on the Drake secret baby mama story,
Jeez.
Sophie. He was duct taped, him and his daughter, and he was pow whipped in front of his child. So, you know, there's a lot that goes on in the backdrop.
And the timing, chillingly perfect. The interview dropped right when Chris Brown was finally starting to rebuild his image. Just as his career was climbing out of the ashes, this interview hit, and the whole world turned against him again. One single, well-timed TV interview, And Chris Brown's comeback was gone before it even started. That wasn't coincidence. That was surgical precision. Jaguar calls it a strategic takedown, not an emotional confession, because when you line up the pieces, it all fits too perfectly to be accidental. Think back to everything we've already heard. Jay-Z's control system, the manipulation of young talent, the late night meetings, the pressure to sign, the psychological grip. Now look at Rihanna's flawless interview performance and ask yourself, who taught her how to do that? Who trained her to hit every emotional note like a script rehearsed to perfection?
Dad, I know I promised you I'm gonna give you my first Grammy, but we might have to fight for this one.
She said she wanted to thank everybody for her first Grammy.
Anyway, I'd like to thank Jay-Z for being a part of this record with me.
She liked to thank Jigga Man for being the greatest in the world.
Ellen Reed, Steve Bartles, Tata, Jay Brown, Karen Kwok for finding this amazing record. Tricky, Dream for writing such a beautiful record. Thank you, I love you guys. Mom, Dad, my two brothers, Rory and Rajad. Please wrap up, okay? Barbados, I love you. We got one. Evan Rogers, Carl Sturken, Mark Jordan, Krista, and making sure I don't forget anybody. Thank you so much. This means a lot.
Those weren't the words of someone stumbling through trauma. They were the lines of someone coached to deliver a message. I'm strong. This happened to me. I didn't cause this. Every sentence crafted to build sympathy and destroy a reputation at the same time. Jaguar says that wasn't just a survivor's testimony, it was a weapon. A performance engineered to shift public outrage away from the real puppet master.
He's been evading, but the thing is, everyone in the backdrop knew that he was the celebrity John Doe. Everybody knew that. They knew it when I did Pierce Morgan.
Is Beyonce celebrity B?
I hope to God not, but she was around. And she's very... she's got enough on her plate. After everything that happened with the election and everything that's happening right now, I'm not going to dump on that woman. She got better fish to fry.
Well,
what I
look,
will say is that her husband, she knows exactly who he is.
And redirected towards someone easier to blame. And here's where it hits hardest. While the whole world was busy dragging Chris Brown through the mud, Jay-Z was quietly sitting back, untouchable. The same man accused of manipulating, isolating, and controlling young women was protected by the very image he helped create. Rihanna became his shield, the perfect victim who turned public attention into armor for his empire. And the scariest part, it worked flawlessly. The headlines, the sympathy, the outrage, it all buried the truth right in plain sight. Rihanna's interview wasn't just about taking down Chris Brown. It was the latest move in a long-running system of control and elimination that Jay-Z allegedly perfected over the years. Jaguar calls it the elimination machine, a method designed to protect his empire by quietly removing anyone who posed a threat. And once you start seeing the pattern, it's impossible to unsee it. For over 2 decades, anyone who got too close to the truth or simply refused to play by his rules ended up destroyed, silenced, or gone. DeHaven, the man who knew too much about the early substance operations, eliminated. Dame Dash, his own business partner who witnessed things too disturbing to ignore, systematically discredited and erased from the inner circle. Aaliyah, the young artist who rejected his advances, gone after a mysterious plane crash. Kathy White, rumored to be pregnant with his child, suddenly passed away from a so-called aneurysm.
He was after Beyonce when she was before 18, correct? I mean, as we go through the timeline, they claim, oh no, I met him at 18 and then we waited till I was 19, but they knew each other when she was like 15, 16, correct? You clearly had eyes, and it's not the only one, right? There's Aaliyah as well. I was looking at these photos. There's a history
but Aaliyah,
of this, right?
Definitely. A lot of people don't realize the timeline, but after everything went bad with Robert Kelly and he had to divorce Aaliyah, Jay-Z was interested while she was still underage. And as she started spending more time in New York, he was very, very, very right there. She didn't want that. She didn't want that with him. And if there's one thing I can tell you about Sean Carter, being embarrassed and being rejected are things he does not handle well. You know, a lot of people say, oh, You're crazy. He didn't do anything to Big L.
Too many coincidences stacked on top of each other to ignore. Jaguar breaks it down like a formula. First, isolate the threat. Second, destroy their credibility. And finally, remove them completely while keeping your image squeaky clean. Every time, the story looks different, but the outcome's always the same. Anyone who steps out of line disappears, while Jay-Z walks away untouched. And Chris Brown, he wasn't an exception. He was the biggest example yet. His takedown was public, planned, and precise. A message to anyone who might dare to challenge the system next. But don't just take Jaguar's word for it. Listen to the people who were actually there. Jonathan Hay, Rihanna's own publicist, came forward confirming key details that line up with everything Jaguar's been saying.
That Jay-Z used to have transgender women on there. On the tour bus, he knows that. He knows that Jay-Z used to prefer transgender women. So I don't know why. I wish Dame Dash would come out and, you know, say everything, but maybe in his own way, he's trying to, you know, protect the hip hop culture and knows how many people could be crushed if he came out and really spoke about Jay-Z's secrets. They set out to do that, you know?
Did you personally see Jay-Z with transgender women? You personally?
I have, correct.
Can you speak on like maybe in what aspect? Is it music video or outside of music videos?
It was during the tour. It was during the tour with the Mill, DMX, Jay-Z.
The Hard Knock Life.
No.
Or maybe a different one.
Yeah, they had the documentary for it. What was that called? I'll think of it. I'll think of it here in a little bit.
Yeah, it was a documentary, backstage or
the backstage with the Mill and all that. I used to work with her, and I definitely. It was unmistakable. You know, in 2024, the trans women are, you know, it can be hard. You know, like a lot of people that, you know, they don't know, but back then it wasn't as advanced, and you could clearly tell, you know, that was a guy.
This isn't wild gossip. It's insider testimony from someone who sat in the same rooms where those life-altering decisions were made. When a professional who actually worked side by side with Rihanna validates Jaguar Wright's claims, that's when you know it's time to start paying serious attention. This isn't the random outsider. It's someone who was inside the very rooms where the deals, decisions, and cover-ups happened. And once that validation comes out, the story takes a much darker turn. Kathy White's case wasn't just another tragedy, it was part of the machinery. According to Jaguar, she wasn't simply removed to protect Jay-Z. Beyonce allegedly played a role too. The woman who was reportedly pregnant with Jay-Z's child that became a liability. And the empire handled it the way it always did, quietly and permanently. That's when it stopped being about protecting one man. It became about both of them protecting their billion-dollar legacy, no matter who got caught in the crossfire. And that's where Rihanna's transformation comes full circle. She wasn't just a victim anymore. She had become a participant.
Speaking of PTSD, you made a comment about this. Like, this was from a Super Bowl appearance more recently. This bothered you, seeing her put the Rockefellers logo out there.
If you
what was
go
your
back
instinct to that?
and watch, it was almost as if she didn't want to put her hands up, and then she looked over where Jay-Z's box was, and then you just see her hands. She look at her. She's looking at his box. She didn't want to do it. She didn't even want to do that gig. But the hold, especially the financial hold with the companies and all of the money and all of the strings that he pulled to. He treats these women like shell corporations.
Is that why this happened? Do you have any insight on this infamous elevator video where Solange was seen just unloading on him? Beyonce's there as well.
What I will say is, right there, that's the moment when he told her to back up and called her Tito Jackson.
And respect
and
love to Tito Jackson, who we just lost recently.
I know. Tito could never get a break, and he's the nicest guy.
But here, yeah, Jay-Z trying to mimic, she's not worthy, she's nobody, is what he's trying to do.
Pretty much is what he pretty much said to her. But the thing is there was infidelity that was happening that night. Both of them got caught doing things they weren't supposed to do. I believe there might have been some DV that happened. And people who know Mr. Carter knows he doesn't have a problem with putting his hands on his wife. Plenty of people know that to be true. Solange is different.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Solange is different. She's old school Southern, and she loves her big sister, even when her big sister makes mistakes. She stood up for her sister. The most interesting thing about that, though, can we look at that one more time, Andy? They come in and all of this, and then look, it almost looks like he's going to defend himself, but instead he prostrates himself, right? He lets Solange go nuts, and then he sits there and acts. He knows that camera's there. He knows where all the cameras are in that place. There's another footage, and I'll get it and I'll send it to you, of him with another woman approaching him aggressively, or it seemed like aggressively, and he's the crap out of her. Matter of fact, there's at least 5 different shows over the course of the past 15 years where he has physically women that came into his space that he didn't want anywhere near him. So I find it funny that in all those other instances, he had no problem with putting his hands on a woman to so-called defend himself. But when he's getting killed alive with cameras there, all of a sudden now he's meek and mild. I think that was a setup. I think he did that specifically to handle up on Solange.
Jaguar says Rihanna evolved step by step. First the victim, then the accomplice, and finally the weapon. The very system that once conditioned and exploited her now used her as its sharpest tool. She mastered the playbook so well that she started doing the same things to others, silencing, manipulating, protecting the machine that once controlled her. For over 15 years, we've been spoon-fed the same version of this story. Rihanna, the sweet, innocent victim. Jay-Z, the watchful mentor, protecting her rise. And Chris Brown, the reckless villain who ruined everything. But what if that whole picture was flipped? What if the real victim was forced into silence, while the person everyone saw as a hero built a billion-dollar image off deception? Jaguar Wright is tearing the mask off tonight, and once you hear what she's saying, you might never look at Rihanna the same again, because sometimes the one crying victim is the same one covering up something way darker. Let's rewind.
Okay. The person who leaked the security video of Solange attacking Jay-Z was found and then fired. Reportedly, it was a female security guard. And she didn't take the tape from the hotel security system. She recorded it on her cell phone. Well, that was smart, though, because I mean, I'd be thinking about just take the tape. So that was smart. The less than smart thing is that it took her 5 days. She shopped it around for 5 days before she got, some dough for it. Finally, it was TMZ who bought the video. Originally, it was reported that whoever sold it for $250,000, but now there's some discrepancy in the amount of money. Some people are saying $50,000, some are saying $100,000, others are saying $250,000. Either way, now she's gonna lose it all because now the Standard's going to sue her. They've hired a high-priced lawyer to go after this security guard girl. And now, she can never be, I guess, a security person again since she's a security breacher. It's terrible.
Not to the glossy fairy tale we've all memorized, but to how it really started. Imagine a 16-year-old girl from Barbados, miles away from home, flown into New York City for what she was told was her big break. Alone in a glass tower at 3 a.m. No parents, no chaperone, no one looking out for her. Just a teenager surrounded by industry power players who could decide her future with one signature. That's not glamour, that's control. And that night wasn't just an audition, it was the beginning of ownership. Now pay attention to Rihanna's own words when she described that night. She called it an audition, but if you really listen, there's something haunting beneath it. The way she talks about being intimidated, about feeling isolated, about being pressured until signing was the only way out. It doesn't sound like opportunity. It sounds like someone who got trapped in a deal she never fully understood. Now listen to Jay-Z himself years later, almost bragging about what went down. We didn't let her leave without signing. Let that sink in. A grown man proudly admitting that he didn't let a 16-year-old girl walk out of his office until she signed a contract that changed her life forever.
I am strong. This happened to me. I didn't cause this. I didn't do it. This happened to me, and it can happen to anybody. There are a lot of women who've experienced what I did, but not in the public. So it made it really difficult. I just felt like, oh my God, here goes my little bit of privacy. Just people exposed, like it's something that nobody wants anybody to know. So here I am, the whole world knowing.
Why be ashamed?
Because I didn't want people to think that that's the kind of person I fell in love with that person. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing that that's the type of person that I fell in love with. So far in love, so unconditional that I went back.
On average, I think it takes a woman 7 times before she leaves.
8 or 9, actually. And I don't want that to happen. That's not what I want to teach people. But again, people, I'm a human being, and people put me on a very unrealistic pedestal and all these expectations. I'm not perfect. Also, it's pretty natural for that to be the first reaction. It's completely normal to go back. You start lying to yourself. The minute the physical wounds go away, you want this thing to go away. This is a memory you don't want to have ever again.
That's not ambition, that's manipulation. There's a thin line between business and pressure, and he crossed it like it was nothing. And here's where things get even darker. After that meeting, Rihanna couldn't sleep for 3 straight days, 3 days of restlessness, anxiety, and fear. That's not excitement after landing a deal. That's a body reacting to something deeply wrong. When your body refuses to rest, it's because your spirit knows it's in danger, even when your mind tries to make sense of it. That's not a big opportunity. That's trauma disguised as a breakthrough. But Jaguar Wright didn't stop there. She dug deeper and claimed that the story goes even further back. She said Rihanna was actually just 15 when this whole conditioning started. 15. That's not a partnership. That's exploitation. A teenager left alone in a skyscraper with a powerful man who had already planned the entire setup.
I couldn't be held responsible for telling them, go back. Chris, even if Chris never hit me again, who's to say that their boyfriend won't? Who's to say that they won't kill these girls? And these are young girls.
4 hours behind closed doors while the entire industry looked away and nobody said a word. Nobody stepped in because the truth was too valuable to expose. The control didn't end with that contract. It was only the beginning. Jaguar claims Rihanna was pushed straight into the nightlife scene at just 15 and 16, surrounded by adults who were supposed to protect her, but instead watched her fall deeper into that world. These weren't friendly gatherings. They were high-level industry parties where innocence disappeared fast. Imagine being that young, thrown into a room full of powerful people, the music blasting, cameras flashing, and everyone pretending it was normal. That's not mentorship. That's manipulation with champagne glasses in hand. And here's where it turns downright chilling. The moment anyone tried to speak up, anyone who dared to say she's just a kid.
Don't see the lineup?
Yeah, we see the lineup. I'm just waiting to see who's next.
Jay-Z is setting Diddy up. Why is everyone having such a hard time? He ain't doing shit. He lined up D. Haven, stole his life and identity. He lined up Big L, stole his life and identity. He lined up Dame Dash, stole his life, identity, and took his love. Lined up R. Kelly. He wants to be the one.
And shout out D. Haven. He actually hit us up, wanted to tell this story.
You need to talk to D. Haven.
Yeah, we need to talk to him.
I told you that last year when I put you on the phone with him.
You did.
I want you to think about this. Allegedly, Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyonce, who was struggling. Let's just say allegedly that happened. Now I want you to think about 106th and Park with Mary J. Blige. Free, who is a victim of Sean Carter.
Yeah.
Mary J. Blige, who is a victim of Sean Combs, are sitting there talking about the death of Aaliyah amongst each other. Think about that. You got a Diddy victim, you got a Jay-Z victim, and you got a superstar gone. They know what happened. And yet, they had to sit there and have that conversation like they didn't know who did it. Think of the power of that moment. Think about Claudia Jordan right now. Claudia Jordan don't ever mention my mother name. She mentioned it yesterday. Talking about why people are afraid to come forward. You mean like you? You was Diddy girl. Corey was Jay-Z girl. Why don't you claim your friend? Claudia.
So, Jack, when you say...
When I say Corey, I'm talking about Kathy White.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was about to ask.
Jay-Z's pregnant mistress, who died of an imaginary aneurysm, just like the woman who was best friends with Kim and Kimura, who wrote the book Bling and died as soon as it made the bestsellers list. Who the f these people supposed to go to? You can't go to the boss because the boss is you. And the boss's boss don't get no. Can't go to the authorities. They're all bought and paid for.
They were quietly pushed out, blacklisted, or cut off completely. People vanished from the narrative like they never existed. Even that famous Grammy night, the one that was supposed to be her victory, wasn't what it seemed. Jay-Z wasn't just standing proudly beside her, he was controlling the moment, making sure she didn't step out of his shadow. Watch that footage and ask yourself, is that a mentor cheering for his artist? Or a handler keeping his investment on a short leash? This isn't some fairy tale of talent discovery, it's a blueprint of control hidden under the glitz of fame.
People have been hitting me about, how could Jaguar Wright know all these things, right? And how, Jaguar Wright hasn't worked with Jay-Z since, when she did the Unplugged. That's a long time ago. Well, I can tell you just from what I've experienced is the people that have contacted me since I've done like your show and since I've done other shows, people have contacted me, other victims, and have sent me, obviously there's been some people that have sent me stuff that, doesn't check out or whatever, but victims have contacted me and they have sent me proof that can never be disputed, photos, everything else, because they don't want to bring their story out, but they like what we're doing. So they're whistleblowing, but they're doing quietly to protect their jobs and to protect their families and to protect, whatever. They're not comfortable speaking out. So if I've got all kinds of information in the last 2 months, just from doing, shows like you guys, I can't imagine all the stuff that Jaguar Wright has got and to her, and the access that she's seen and the people who have came to her, like she has such a bigger reach and such a bigger audience than me. It's and mine is getting to the point where it's overwhelming of people reaching out who have suffered from Diddy, from Jay-Z, and from these celebrities.
Jaguar calls it systematic predatory behavior masked as business mentorship. And the most twisted part, Rihanna didn't just survive that system, she mastered it. Years later, she allegedly used those same manipulative tactics to take down someone who dared to pull the curtain back on the truth. But we're not there yet. The story's about to get even darker. Before we go any further, you have to understand, Rihanna wasn't the only one. She was just another piece in a long, disturbing pattern that had been running for years. Jaguar Wright exposes that Jay-Z's behavior wasn't some random mistake. It was a method, a system, and the person who knows that pattern better than anyone else. The woman who shares his bet, Beyonce. Yeah, Jaguar claims Beyonce has seen it all and stayed silent. That revelation alone could shake the entire industry to its core. According to Jaguar, Beyonce knows exactly who her husband is and what he's been doing behind the scenes. She's seen the manipulation, the control, the quiet exploitation, and she's looked the other way. Not out of fear, not out of ignorance, but because she's protecting something even bigger, an empire worth more to her than the reputations, the pain, or even the lives of the people caught in the crossfire. That's not love, that's loyalty to power. And think about the irony. The woman praised as a global symbol of female empowerment, the one who built her brand on independence and sisterhood, might have been the closest witness to all of it, watching the same system that broke young women without ever lifting a finger to stop it. Jaguar says this isn't just a few shady moments. It's a full-blown pattern that's been repeating in silence for decades. And now, she's finally ready to pull the curtain all the way back. Jay-Z's pattern didn't start or stop with Rihanna. It's way bigger than that. Jaguar Wright claims he had a system, a routine where he'd seek out young, talented girls long before they were ready for the spotlight. She says he targeted Beyonce when she was underage, and before her, he allegedly went after Aaliyah when she was just a teen. 3 different girls, 3 different moments in time, but the same chilling pattern repeating again and again. This wasn't random. It was a blueprint for control. And here's where the story turns ice cold. Aaliyah was different. She said no. She rejected him completely. And according to Jaguar, Jay-Z never handled rejection well. That one word, no, was something he couldn't tolerate. Remember that, because it comes back later when we talk about what happens to anyone who refuses to play his game.
Allegedly, the song Daughter on Beyonce's Cowboy Carter album.
I love that one.
Well, it's potentially a murder confession about Jay-Z's mistress, Kathy White.
What?
Yeah, buckle up. On August 28th, 2011, Beyonce announced her pregnancy at the MTV VMAs.
Iconic.
On January 7th, 2012, Blue Ivy was born into this world. In 2016, Beyonce dropped Lemonade. Now, as we all know, Lemonade was a true album about infidelity. Jay-Z was rumored to have a very long time mistress. It was well known in the industry. People knew of Kathy White because of Jay-Z, okay? Yikes. So here's where it gets a little crazy. Kathy White was known to be pregnant in 2011. Shortly after giving birth, Kathy died mysteriously in her apartment of a brain aneurysm.
I have a feeling this is related.
Okay. Now, even though we saw Beyonce's bump publicly, there's a video of Beyonce sitting down for an interview and her whole stomach just deflates in the video, and it's very weird.
This is crazy.
If you listen to Daughter, the song completely illustrates her confession. The lyrics in the song say, "Your body laid out on these filthy floors, your bloodstains on my custom coutures. Bathroom attendant let me right in. She was a big fan. I tried to stay cool, but your arrogance disturbed my solitude. Now I ripped your dress and you're all black and blue. Look what you made me do." So fans are speculating that Beyonce had Kathy White killed after Kathy White had the baby and claimed the baby as her own, and that baby is Blue Ivy.
Once you see how that rejection shaped the way he moved in the industry, everything else starts to make sense. Now, look closely at the timeline. Beyonce at 15, Aaliyah at 16, Rihanna at 15. That's not a coincidence. It's a method. A calculated system designed to find rising stars before they understood their own power. Jaguar says Jay-Z used his influence, connections, and industry access to manipulate and control young talent for decades. Over 30 years of the same twisted playbook. And the deeper you go, the darker it gets. Even Jonathan Hay, a major industry insider, once spoke out about what he saw behind the curtain, what he called Jay-Z's hidden deviant tendencies. And Dame Dash, his former partner, allegedly saw things that made him so uncomfortable that he walked away from one of the most successful partnerships in hip-hop history. That's how bad it got. His own business partner couldn't stand to be around him anymore. Think about that. This is the same man who was left alone in that Manhattan office with a 15-year-old Rihanna for 4 hours. And here's where it hits even harder, Beyonce's silence. Because when you realize how much she's seen, how much she's known, and how long she stayed quiet, it makes everything that much more haunting. She didn't just know about the pattern, she profited from it. Every time Jay-Z allegedly pulled another young girl into his system, it tightened the chains that held their empire together. Every silence protected their brand. Every cover-up kept their legacy intact. Beyonce wasn't just standing by, she was benefiting from the machine. She made her choice long ago. When she realized who her husband truly was, she had the power to speak up, to stop him, to protect others, but she didn't. Instead, she became his strongest shield, helping him bury the truth under fame, power, and billion-dollar deals. Jaguar sums it up coldly. Jay-Z didn't ruin Rihanna's life in the usual sense. He rewired it. He turned her from a survivor into the perfect shield, a human smokescreen that keeps every eye focused on the wrong villains while his empire thrives, untouched. From a scared 16-year-old left alone in a skyscraper to the strategic woman who helped destroy Chris Brown's entire career, Rihanna's journey exposes the ultimate evolution of control. What began as exploitation turned into full-blown transformation, proof that psychological conditioning doesn't just break people, it reshapes them into exactly what the system needs. Her rise wasn't just about fame or talent. It was the blueprint of manipulation disguised as empowerment. So now, ask yourself, when powerful celebrities stand before cameras claiming to be champions for victims while secretly shielding their abusers, are you really witnessing activism or the most dangerous form of complicity? When someone who once cried out for help starts defending the very person who broke them, is that loyalty or the final stage of psychological control? Because at that point, truth isn't just hidden, it's redesigned to serve the empire. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, share it with someone who needs to see through the illusion, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think this was survival or strategy? Let's talk about it. And until next time, fam, keep it real, stay alert, and I'll see you in the next one.